Of the 2020 Databank Retirement Tour. My name is Jillian Hammer. I am the Group Chief Marketing Officer at Databank, and I'm very happy to have all of you here. So before we get started, there is a quick poll that we would like everybody to participate in. There are just 4 questions. It will literally take you seconds to do. And I'm going to launch it. You will see it on your screen right now. If each of you could just take 10, 20, 30 seconds, answer the 4 questions, and then we'll actually share the results once everybody has voted. So please take a minute and vote, and then we will get started. Thank you. Okay, we've got a few seconds to go. So for all those who just joined, there's a poll on the screen. We encourage you to fill it out, and then we'll get started in about 10 seconds. End polling. Okay, so hello once again, and welcome to the 2020 Databank Retirement Tour, the last day of the tour. For 4 days, we've been doing this back to back. And before we get started, I'd just like to ask Emma Somia-Kwao, she is one of the heads of sales, to just give us the opening prayer, and then we'll get into it. So Emma, can you please say the opening prayer? Thank you.
Father, we thank you for another day. We thank you for making this day a success. We thank you for the past few days you started with us, and we know that this day too will be of a great and a huge success. Let us profit from this retirement seminar and cause us to do great things to benefit our families and our nation, Ghana. This we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Emma. So for Databank, let me start by saying for Databank, one of the things we are most passionate about is the topic of retirement. And we're passionate about it because so few people are actually able to retire comfortably. And if you think about the people around you, the people that you know, the people that you work with, even people in your own family, many of them are not in any proper state in their retirement. And you hear stories of people who are, who are professors, lawyers, doctors, and you would think that because they were professionals, then naturally they would even be in a better position. But many of them, through lack of knowledge, lack of preparation, they were not ready for retirement. And in the end, they're no better off than someone who barely earned anything the whole year. So for Databank, or for their whole career. So for Databank, the topic of retirement is something that we will keep talking about over and over and over. This retirement tour is something that we've been doing on an annual basis, though I must admit each year we try and make it bigger and bigger so that we can reach more people. And thankfully, a silver lining of COVID is that we've gone virtual. So over the past 4 days, we've had people on from Germany, Israel, China, the UK, the US. So we've really been able to reach out to a lot of people, and we're very grateful for that opportunity. So today we have a number of speakers. So we have Kojo Addae-Mensah, who will start off and give a few words about the importance of retirement planning. Then we have a representative from SSNIT who has a wonderful story to share in addition to all the knowledge that he has on planning for your pension. And then we will have a special guest who will also share his story on preparing for retirement. So we've got those three things lined up. But before we start, I want to share the results of the poll, just to give you an idea of what people are thinking. So the majority of people on the call that actually responded to the survey were aged 30 to 39. And that's the trend that we've been seeing actually for the last 3 into day 4. And so it tells you that generally the group is relatively young, between 20 to 29, 30 to 39. When we asked what age you want to retire, today, most of the people said either at age 60 or before age 60, though there are always a few who say they don't plan to retire. So with that in mind, it will be very interesting what your retirement will look like. The third question that we asked was, how much money do you need on a monthly basis in today's CDs to retire comfortably? 74% of you said between 1,000 and 10,000, with almost half of that group between the 5,000 to 10,000 mark. And then the majority, and then 23% said over 10,000. So most of you on this call believe that a comfortable retirement will take a few thousand a month at least. Then we asked, how much do you already have invested towards retirement? And I would say that the results for today, I think, are better than the past days, because the zero has been quite high over the last few days. But thankfully, from what I'm seeing, it looks like we've got about 47% who have between 10,000, anywhere from 10,000 and up saved. So it may not be a lot, but it's encouraging and it's a start. And so thank you very much for taking your time to just fill this out. And I'm going to stop sharing. The last thing that I will say before I hand over to Kojo, for him to start talking and hopefully to explain to you why this is so important. Yesterday, a friend of mine, he lives in Canada, and he put a message on Facebook that his mother had died. And he put up the picture of his mother, who at the time was 100 years old. That was 20 years ago. So she died this week at 120, right here in Ghana. And the point is, if the retirement age in Ghana is 60, and there's a chance that you could live another 30, 40, 50, maybe even 60 years, you need to do something for yourself. So please, please do not take what is said today for granted. I will turn it over to Kojo, who will also say welcome and then start talking. Ah, yes. I forgot to introduce him. Though I am told from what he has said that there are quite a number of people on the platform that he seems to recognize your names. So I'm sure he'll give you a shout out. But to those of you who do not know Kojo, he is the group CEO of Databank. This is where he started when he started his career in 1998. And this is where he came back to in 2014 when the owners decided to step aside. So he's actually been in the banking, and by banking, I will say commercial and investment banking industry for more than 20 years. And so he has loads of experience. He's worked at Standard Chartered, ABSA now, GCB, and back at Databank. So he's a wonderful resource to us, and we're very grateful to have him. And he is also very passionate about, okay, 3 things I would say. 1, his son. That's like number 1. Number 2 is children and helping children who can't afford to have a good education to get one. And then number 3, number 3 is football. And so I could show you his football table. In fact, I can. If you, yes, his shrine. That's what we like to call it. So some of you may know, but he is an avid Liverpool supporter. So those who are on today will get a special treat because I will show you what his Liverpool shrine looks like so that you know that this is not a small matter. Okay, follow me. That is his table with scarves, pictures, with cloth, you name it, it's there. And it's all Liverpool, down to a toothbrush. If you would like a Liverpool toothbrush, she's got one. So anyway, I'll hand it over to Kojo now so that we get started. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Jillian. Yeah, it's true. And I found out that my younger brother is on. Nana, good to see you. He's in Holland. I'm very happy to have him here. I haven't really spoken to him for a while. I also noticed a few friends. Harold, thank you very much. Harold is one of our best ArcFund customers. I really appreciate this. I see Godwin Afayome from Cote d'Ivoire also on. I also saw David Anokwashi. Man Citrix, thanks for joining. And then I recognized an Asumedu Sechi. So I don't know if you are related to our own Berima. And I think I spotted Isime too along the way. Thank you all for coming day 4. I didn't think we would have another huge participation, but this is the highest participation since Monday, actually. We've always crossed 200, but today we've crossed 300, which tells me that we're probably doing something right. As Jillian said, we've been doing this for 5 years now. And every year, I even still learn something new. I'm always learning, and it's been mind-blowing. I'm very happy that we're now able to reach the world at the same time. And I learned a few things from our Chinese participants, and it's giving me ideas on how we can help the Chinese group better, because I think they have a few more restrictions on how they wire money and how we get money across to them. So it's usually a long session, so I won't spend too much time on intros and stuff. I'd like to get straight into a little presentation I have for you. Okay, so this year, the theme for our retirement show is, do you know your retirement number? And every year we try and get a theme wrap around our retirement tour. And by knowing your retirement number, essentially what we are saying is, do you know how much you require to invest regularly? We prefer monthly to hit that number you put into the survey. You will notice that, I noticed that a lot of you have, figures out there that you've put in our survey, but do you really know how to get there? Are you planning for it, or you think it will just happen by chance? Very soon, our SSNIT rep will show those of you who are in regular employment how your pension is calculated and how they arrive at the numbers that they arrive at, so that you know that SSNIT are not cheats and SSNIT are not just, so to speak, chopping your money or anything. And they work by law, and everything is by law. So I think I'm so glad that you all have been able to make it today. And I hope it will be beneficial, and I hope you leave with something and a message that you can share with your friends, family, friends of friends, and everybody you meet. So historically, and I'll say much more in the past than in recent times, we used to see families of 5, 6, 7, 4 children, 2 parents, 5 children, 2 parents. Primarily because a lot of parents had the view that their retirement plan was in their children, and that the more children you have, the higher the probability that 1 or 2 of them will look after you during your retirement. Yeah, that could have been true some years ago, but ladies and gentlemen, I don't think that is the case in recent times. And from what we are seeing, we don't think that this phenomenon really holds. And we already see that we are having less and less number of kids per household. Usually the standard number is trending towards 2. So 2 kids, and 2 parents is what we are seeing. And this whole thing about the kids will come and look after me so I can do whatever I want is not quite the case. Yeah, you may invest in them and hope that the investment you've done in them may reap results. But what are we seeing? I tell the story every day of how growing up, there was nothing like a creche. For those of us who were born in the 70s, and especially even in the 60s, you just probably go into nursery, and then from nursery, you're going into class 1. Or there was no nursery at all. You go straight to class 1. Now we are having creches dotted all over the place across the country and everywhere. It's just that in recent times, COVID has shut down all these creches. But nonetheless, we are having creches popping up. What does that mean? It means that we now as parents are so busy, we are looking for ways of just finding somebody to look after the kids so we can go find some work to make ends meet. And the creches are coming more and more. And that's why I predict that as time goes on, we'll be moving towards what I describe as the Western style culture, where old people's homes are also going to be a norm and a common thing. And our kids that we are thinking will probably be spending time looking after us may just dump us in old people's homes and probably forget about us. So if you don't think of yourself and think of how you plan and you are just going to rely on your kids, you probably may be shocked and start saying, hey, Ajua or Kofi or Kojo, after all that I did for you, you've just dumped me somewhere. But it may not be their fault, because the kids of today are also extremely busy, struggling to make ends meet. And life is not getting any easier for them. Some of you will acknowledge that you finished school and you're still living with your retired parents. How do you think those retired parents are managing? They are still having to fend for you. You may have to end up fending for your kids as well while you're in retirement. This is a very serious matter that you shouldn't take for granted at all, because life is not getting easier, and even COVID is turning things upside down. Who knows what's going to happen next? There's a lot of uncertainty. You need to be ready and plan for it. And like Gillian said in the intro, I've been around a bit. I've been around quite a bit. I'm maybe not too old, but working especially in the commercial banks and GCB specifically, and GCB, because of its spread across the country, you find out that a lot of pensioners take their pensions through GCB because maybe they may be working in Accra, but they will retire in some other district. And most likely the bank you find in most districts will be GCB. So I had the fortune of interacting with a lot of pensioners along the way. And when they come in for their pension, especially when they are coming in for their first or second pension, the shock on their faces, the shock that they look at the slip given to them or the amount of money in their account, I just couldn't believe it. And that's where I started asking myself, what is it with pensioners that they always get shocked at the amount of money that they get? And in interviewing and in probing, I found out that most of it was total ignorance. Most of it was because they really didn't know how their pensions were going to be calculated. A lot of you and a lot of them lived on allowances. Some of them had allowances that were higher than their actual salaries, and forgot that SSNIT, tier 1 especially, is calculated on what your basic salary is. So the SSNIT rep, he's very, 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 very good and knowledgeable. Please, when he comes up, take your time and listen to him carefully. And the ignorance with which people lived their lives while at work, it's incredible. So the importance of these kinds of retirement tours cannot be emphasized. And bad advice also, where even those in the old act used to be able to get some lump sums of money, and they will put it into a business that they have no clue about. Here you are working 8 to 5, 9 to 5 all your life without an opportunity to learn maybe an extra skill. But you are 60, you are retiring, and you are thinking of what to do with the money, and somebody tells you, oh, poultry is good, or doing pure water is good, or doing X or Y is good, without you even having a clue what it's about. You then wake up, buy some broilers or buy, you know, in anticipation of a Christmas bonanza. And because you haven't really taken your time to even hire an expert who will help you with how you create your whatever, if it's a chicken coop and the feed and get a proper vet, you don't do all that. You invest in it, and one fine day everything is gone, boom, into smoke, and then you start whining and suffering, and it goes. It's not. I've used poultry as an example, but there are loads and loads of examples that people go into. Like I said, pure water, they go into it without having to know what their distribution network is, any marketing strategies, nothing. So a lot of bad advice and ignorance goes into people having an uncomfortable retirement. And I'll plead that before you do anything, you talk to an expert. Always, always try and talk to an expert. So the question is, why are we here today? And I'd like to share some numbers with you. Research has revealed that, at least this is for Ghana, out of every 100 people who retire, only 2 are going to retire comfortably. 23 must continue working, and a whopping 75 will depend on SSNIT only, charity, and relatives, which is even the most common. 2 years ago, our theme for our retirement series was, are you part of the 2? Will you be part of that 2? When you retire, are you going to be among the 2 or the 23 or the 75? We are seeing statistics that are trending this number towards 1. But that is why we are here today. Our mission is to ensure that out of every 100 Ghanaians, we get 10, 20, 30 retiring comfortably. So after you get this message, I will repeat, please don't keep it to yourself. Go and propagate it for us so that more and more Ghanaians can retire comfortably. It's all about planning. No matter how much you're earning, no matter how low you feel your income is, we believe strongly that if you plan properly, you'll definitely be able to be part of the 2 or even help all of us move that number above 2. So, as some of you may know, Ghana has a new Pensions Act. There was the old PNDC Act. Our SSNIT man will give you more details. And there's the current Act 766 as amended to 883. Ghana has 3 tiers. Tier 1 is administered by SSNIT, and you get a lot of information around it. Tiers 2 and 3 is what the Act brought the private sector into. So you would have corporate trustees who are properly registered by the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. And then you have fund managers like the Databank Asset Management Limited, also properly licensed by both the Securities and Exchange Commission and the National Pensions Regulatory Authority to administer the tiers 2 and 3 pensions, which is the private sector side. Now, tier 1 and 2 are statutory. That means that your employer must necessarily deduct and pay those for you. And then tier 3 is sort of optional. But I will encourage anybody who is here whose organization doesn't have a tier 3, which was called Provident Fund back in the day, to ensure that you push for a tier 3 because it has tax benefits in there. And tier 3 is for both the formal and the informal sectors. So if you are in the formal sector, you can contribute up to 16.5% of your basic into your tier 3. Some organizations are lucky enough to have the employer contribute a percentage, and then the employee also contributes a percentage. At Databank, we've split it down the middle, 8-8. And if you are in the informal sector, then you can actually go as high as up to 35% of your income. Unfortunately, in Ghana, most people in the informal sector do not take this matter seriously. They think that they can work till the very last day they pop off. Some people are lucky. God grants them a lot of strength and energy to be able to work till the last day of their lives. Others are not, but you can't predict the future. So why don't you play safe? And if you're in the informal sector and you do not even have a tier 1 or 2, at least you should talk to a professional corporate trustee and try and get into tier 3. One other matter that you must take seriously, I'm coming into SSNIT here, just focus on this number for a bit. In June 2020, and I'm talking to those of you in the formal sector, The average monthly pension that was paid out by SSNIT was 957 cedis only. Come down with me a bit to the next sentence. November 2019, the lowest was 312 cedis. The highest was 111,475, giving an average of 841 cedis. Note, in June 2020, the highest pension was 118,871. In December 2018, the highest was 51,269. The average was 739 cedis. So even though the highest pension paid out by SSNIT has more than doubled, the average has moved nowhere. 739, 841, 957. What is this telling us? It tells us that majority of Ghanaians are sitting in very low income brackets, very, very low income brackets. And we are informed even that this highest number that we are showing to you here doesn't even belong to the formal sector. This belongs to somebody who was in the informal sector, who was wise enough to approach SSNIT and say, look, I'm in the informal sector, but I want to have a voluntary contribution. And today they are taking these numbers. Our SSNIT rep will show you that under the new act, nobody, none of us here listening to us now, born after 1st January 1960, will be able to earn this amount at least under tier 1, because there are certain caps that have been introduced in the new act. And I'm sure Edmond, if he will be the rep, will give us more details into that. One other phenomenon that I would like to bring your minds to is the issue about accommodation, and realizing that more and more people retire on pension and do not have their own homes. It's a very serious matter. They are either perching, squatting, or living rent-free. And by living rent-free, we found out that most of them are living with in-laws, or you're living with your child, but your child is married, and you become a nuisance living with your in-law. It's okay when it's a day or two, but if you are permanently living with your in-law, it's not a pleasant experience. And I know that a lot of issues happen there. So please, you need to take control of your pension. You need to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you could end up being a pauper in retirement. You have to have a plan B. In SSNIT, there are 1.5 million active contributors. But guess what? 50% of those are below 1,000 cedis. And only 4% are actually earning 5,000 cedis or more. And like I said, the Act has introduced caps. So if you don't have another plan, you may not be able to retire as comfortably as you said in the survey, because without planning and actually actively working towards it, you will not make it. And trust me, retirement will come. As they say, retirement is like death. Whether we like it or not, we will retire. So please, it's important that you have a plan B and plan for your future. So ladies and gentlemen, if today is not the day, I don't know when. You need to take control of your retirement. It's not somebody's job. It's not the government's job. It's not your children's job. It is your job. It is your responsibility to take control of your destiny. Thank you very much. And once again, oh, sorry, I missed this part. Sorry about that. I missed this part about the number. Sorry about that. But it's extremely important that you focus on this slide. What is your retirement number? Do you know how much you need to invest to really get to that target that you are looking at? We will take you through at some point in time. But while you are listening to us and while you're on the webinar, please visit www.databankgroup.com. Go to the tools section. There are some retirement tools there. You can plug in the various variables and you'll see the numbers. While you're at it and while we're doing all these discussions, please, we've held inflation and depreciation constant. I know there are a lot of economists on the conference, but for illustrative purposes, we hold inflation and depreciation constant. When you have that number, just note that every year there will be inflation, there will be depreciation. Those who are in the formal sector, if your salary is increased by 15% and inflation is even 10%, please increase your number by 15%, not 10% and chop the 5. Just move with the increases that you get so that you take care of the depreciation and inflation factor. Once again, I would like to thank you very much for joining today's webinar. I am extremely excited. I am very happy at the numbers. I think we've even crossed 400. It is a record. Honestly speaking, I thank COVID in this case. At this point in time, I think I will thank COVID because we never fill a room with over 800 people. But by the time we finish the week, I think we would have touched, more than 1,000 people. And across the world, that is even what's important. Because we would go to Takoradi and then it's only Western region. We go to Tamale, it's only Northern region. We go to Kumasi. It's so restricted, but thanks to COVID, now we can reach the world. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great time.
Thank you, Kojo. And I hope that everybody heard what he had to say. Just to remind you of a couple quick things that Kojo spoke about. One, he gave a statistic on the number of people who reach age 60, where out of every 100 people who reach age 60, only 2 can retire comfortably. 23 must continue to work. And the statistic didn't say feels like they should continue to work. It said must continue to work. And then 75 have to depend on charity, relatives, SSNIT. And as we go through today, the whole thing is you need to ask yourself, are you doing what it takes to be one of the 2? And the way to do that is to get to know your retirement number. And so an example of your retirement number, if I was to give you a couple quick examples, would be, let's say everybody on this call wants to have 1 million CDs at age 60. And everybody is going to get, your money will all grow at the same rate. So it will grow at a rate of 15% per year, average, not guaranteed, average. But 1 million CDs and it's growing at 50% a year. If you are 25, you would need to invest 89 CDs a month to get to your 1 million. If you are 25. So that 89 CDs is your retirement number. If you are 30, you would need to invest 180 CDs to get to 1 million. So if you are 30, your retirement number is 180. If you are 35, your retirement number changes to 376. And on and on and on. If you are 40, so the one of the things to know is that that number, your retirement number, will double every 5 years. So if you sit here today, especially the younger ones who are 20 to 29, even early 30s, and you are thinking that, you know what, right now you need to take care of university, finish up your 2nd degree or 3rd degree, you want to get married, so you'll do that, or you have kids, you need to pay school fees, so retirement can wait. It cannot wait. Because the longer you wait, the higher your retirement number will get. So please take note and it can be sometimes depressing, but don't let it depress you. Let it motivate you to really work towards your retirement goals. So now I'm going to bring up our next speaker from SSNIT. His name is Mr. Edmund Sampana Diernong. And yes, he likes to be called Sam P. But he has been working with SSNIT for the last 35 years. And he will tell you that, in fact, I don't even want to spoil his story, so I'll let him tell you that part. But needless to say, he's been working with SSNIT for the last 35 years. He is currently the branch manager for Takoradi. And He's worked as branch manager in different locations as well. But his degree is in management and sociology, and he also has a Commonwealth Executive MBA. And he's married with children, loves football as well, and loves reading as a hobby. But when he comes on, he will quickly tell you where he started in SSNIT and where he is today. And again, in the midst of all of this, be encouraged by the stories that you hear. So Edmund, I would like to welcome you for day 4. Thank you so much for being with us for the last few days, and I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm most grateful once again. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, right. We can.
Yeah, I'm most grateful once again for such an opportunity. I think we've had a good time for the last 3 days, and we just hope that today being the last day, whatever that we have under our sleeves will hopefully climax the day. Like Julian said, and you heard my name, and I always prefer to be called Sampi. And the moment you call me Sampi, I got so swollen-headed, and that I will give everything that is within me out for everybody to just appreciate that. Like she rightly said, I started SSNIT in the year 1984. 1984. Of course, I was employed as a messenger. So now you begin to wonder why at this time round, the messenger will now be speaking to the whole, on this platform, this time round as a branch manager of Takoradi. Of course, I started as a messenger also in Takoradi, and by dint of hard work, I've been able to rise through the ranks to become a branch manager. Like I've been saying, my lifestyle has been that of the Rebecca Joseph, who rose from the prisoner to become the prime minister. And I think yesterday, Cassandra from South Africa also reminded us of Nelson Mandela, who also came out from prison, in other words, as prisoner, this time around to become the president. So I'm also fortunate by his grace that I have also moved from M to M. That is in my case, from messenger now to a manager. So I give God the glory. I was appointed as a branch manager in the year 2011 and was posted to Boko branch. That was where I started as a branch manager. And I was there for 2.5 years. From there to Nkoko for 1.5 years. From Nkoko to Takwa for 5 years, 5 months. So I just came back to Takoradi on the 4th of June 2020 as the branch manager. So I was so happy with a kind of welcome home that I had from some of the people that I left behind. They saw me playing the role as a messenger, but this time around, now coming to play the role as a branch manager or their leader. They are so much enthused. And for me, I'm over coming. There are people that I trained, and thank God, I've come back to meet them. And once again, we are united as a family. Remember, I told you I'm a Man United fan. So we are also to see that CEO is a Liverpool man. And Liverpool is one of the teams that I also love. I believe that if you are united and there's a problem, you don't leave them alone. You don't allow them to walk alone. You need to walk with them. So,
We never walk alone.
Kojo, I'm with you. Yeah, yes, that's why my people, yes, they will never walk alone. if really you are united, there's a link. And remember, we all use red jerseys. So red jerseys are so powerful. Oh, Kojo, when I said mine, you didn't get up to.
Go on, sorry.
So I'm a football fan. Like, you know, apart from that, I'm a footballer myself. I've played active football. And some of my playmates, you can talk of Augustine Ahimfo, you can talk of Owu, the goalkeeper of the Black Stars on the 17, who won the first World Cup for us. But I decided not to play football, but I want to pursue my career. Remember, as a messenger, the first time I chanced on the SSNIT formula for the computation of pension, I said, wow. Number one, you remember what we said yesterday, it's your salary. Then number two, you look at the number of months that you have contributed towards the scheme. And then finally, the retirement age. From there, I realized that no, what I'm supposed to do to increase my salary is to make sure that I upgrade my educational background. That was when I began to take so many courses. And remember, if you don't have a degree, there was no way you could have qualified to be a branch manager. And so through these courses, my salary was increasing. And I realized that, yes, I was actually progressing, looking at the formula for the computation of the pension. The number one factor, which is and it has increased up to this level, comfortably retire at the age of 60. I want to wait and get a full pension. And then when it comes to the number of contribution, I have really exceeded that number of contribution. We'll look at that one. Remember, we said that you contribute for a minimum of 180 months and you attain the age of 60, and that qualifies you for full pension. And as you rightly said, you can do the calculation yourself. From 1984 to date, I have reached the maximum of 60% pension right. And for that matter, there is no way that I will not earn the maximum pension right. And that brings a question somebody was asking me yesterday, immediately after the program. And she wanted to try and see if she could ask the question. Unfortunately, she couldn't answer. But because I left my number, she called me immediately after the program, that looking at her age and the time that she started working, she will be able to go over the 60% maximum of the pension right that we're talking about. And I made her to understand that you have achieved the maximum. Then the next thing is your salary. So she should keep on working, and she should also know that she needs to be rising and make sure that his or her salary increases, so that at the end of the day, when they multiply his maximum pension right by his best 3 years salary, the average of it, then she will be earning a high pension. And so that also answers that particular question. So for SSNIT, as we've been saying, always make sure that we are able to give you a part replacement of your lost income immediately that you go on retirement. So one good thing about you can check from our pensioners that we even pay earlier than the pay day that is always stated on the SSNIT payment calendar, and that there is no month that any of them have missed, unless when you get to the age that is after 75, then we'll begin to check whether you are really alive, because after 75, you no longer have anything left for your beneficiaries. And for that matter, we have to check to make sure that you are still alive. And that is where you have to get a pensioner's certificate Formally, people call it life certificate. We are talking about the same thing, just to make sure that you are really alive. So as a form of introduction, that is what I have for you. So quickly, we can move to the core benefits of SSNIT. I think my slides is ready. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so like CEO started, I'm always happy that he does the introduction for us. So we only just continue. Now people understand SSNIT is for tier 1. And you all know the contribution rate is 13.5% of your basic salary. When you register, you join any institution, you have just 1 month to ensure that you are registered. And once you do the registration, you are given a provisional number of which the employer is supposed to use to start paying your Social Security. The provisional number or the reference number is as good as the 13-digit Social Security number. So once you register and you have the provisional provisional number, when the 13-digit generation number is done, then we replace it with, we replace the reference number now with your generated SS number. Everybody is supposed to have one Social Security number. So as we go through, whoever has more than one should quickly contact us so that we'll merge the account for that person, which is very, very necessary. It is a right and it is an obligation of the employee to ensure that once he starts working, he should be registered, and then the employer should start contributing on his or her behalf. The employers, like we also said, have that obligation to do that. Of course, when they are not able to do just that, penalties are actually raised and for the employers rather to pay, but not the employee. Now, being a member of the scheme, we have basically 5 core benefits that you can enjoy or that you can derive from being a member of the scheme. Number 1 is the superannuation or the old age pension. Over there, if you are able to attain the age of 60, and if you're able to do the minimum contribution of 180 months, remember, we've been saying that since most of us are now under the Act 766, we will not talk so much about the PNDC law 247. And remember, we said that the Act 766 started 1st January 2010. So it means that immediately after 10 years, now that we are in 2020, the PNDC law 247 has phased out unless you've not actually registered. So with the differentiation between the Act 766 and 247, remember, and I'm happy, Julian, you did justice to that, that those who were born 1960 upward belongs to, from 1st January 1960 upward, belong to the Act 766. And those 31st December to 1959 downward, now those belongs to the PNDC law 247. So for now, most of us who are born 1960, 1st January and above, all belongs to the Act 766. So please bear with me. Because of time, we want to talk more about the Act 766. Then the second has to do with what we call the invalidity benefit. Should somebody is incapacitated and he's declared unfit that he can no longer work, by a qualified medical doctor, will meet the SSNIT medical board. If the person really passes that one, then the person will now begin to enjoy the invalidity benefit. The condition is that he should have contributed for 12 months within the last 36 months that he or she was declared permanently incapacitated and that he can no longer work. Then, irrespective of your age, you start enjoying the pension. That is the invalidity pension. Then number 3 is what we call the survivor's lump sum. The survivor's lump sum. Should any member of the scheme die on pension, you may start, and like I said, under 766, you have what we call the guarantee period for 15 years. So 60 to 75, 60 is a compulsory retirement age. So 75 is the 15 years. So immediately after that, there's nothing for your beneficiaries. So when you die in between these 15 years, the difference is calculated with interest and then paid to your beneficiaries. Some may also die even before they attain the age of 60, and those are the ones that we term them as death in service. So should you die before you attain the age of 60, all your contributions plus the interest together are calculated and then paid to your beneficiaries. And that is what we term the survivor's lump sum. You all bear with me. Should somebody die, on the obituary, you will see he was survived by, and most often we see the spouse and then the children. So please, we advise that when you are nominating your beneficiaries, please make sure people who are really dependent on you, that your absence will really be a burden on them. Their survival really depends on you. So should you leave them today or tomorrow, they have no means of survival than to rely on you. Then the fourth one is what we call the old age lump sum. If you are not able to qualify and you attain the age of 60, in that case, we only return your contribution with interest. Then last but not the least is the immigration lump sum. The expatriates or those foreigners who have the working permit and working with us are also made to contribute. So when they are permanently leaving the country, they are also given the chance to also assess the immigration lump sum. So now, how do I qualify for the old age pension? So that you move us to page number 15. Page number 15. Remember, we said that we are now concentrating on Act 766. So Act 766, you should have contributed for a minimum of 180 months, and you should have attained the age of 60 for full pension. 55 to 59, that will give you the reduced pension. So that is how you qualify for old age pension. Then what must I do before retirement? What must I do before retirement is due? So you move to the next slide. Then you will know that you need to get to SSNIT and get your statement of account. If there are multiple numbers, like we said earlier on, we make them for you. If you have student loan not settled yourself, or you have guaranteed for a student loan, then you make sure that you bring that one, and then you will get the person. If the person is not able to pay, then it will be deducted from your. And before we start any processing, we need to re-enroll biometrically into that. So if you have not done the SSNIT biometric registration, now is an opportunity for you to do it now. Then with all these things put together, we also make sure that for the last 5 years, if you have not changed your beneficiaries, you will quickly be asked to do that. Remember yesterday, we realized that a lot of people, ever since they registered and joined the scheme, they've never ever changed their beneficiaries. So many things have happened. They were not having any spouse nor children, but now you need to update, and then you make sure that you get those ones also on board. Then the next one is, how can I get my pension and for how long? How can I get my pension and for how long? Like you contact any SSNIT nearest branch office, and then you'll be given your statement of account. You need to go through and confirm the accuracy of the statement. If there are gaps, we'll help you to make sure that those gaps are filled. If the gaps are genuine, then you write an acceptance to say that the gaps are really genuine. Then we'll go ahead and we start the processing. We also need your bank details, because at the end of the computation, your benefits will be paid into your account. So somebody asking for how long? If you are able to go through all these successfully, and like we always advise, that 3 months to your pension or 3 months to attain the age of 60, you need to get to us or contact us, and then we start updating all your records. So by the time you attain the age of 60, then we can quickly make sure, if you should retire in the month of June, then by July, you should be able to get SSNIT, replacing your monthly salary. In other words, the pension for you. Now we quickly move on to know what determines the amount of pension I earn. What determines the amount of pension that we earn? Number one is the amount of the earned salary. The higher your salary, the higher your pension. Then the second thing you have to consider is the number of months that you have contributed. And remember, the number of months that you have contributed will determine your pension right. If you remember, we'll go through the formula again. It's the average of your 3 base years salary times the pension right. And the pension right is determined by the number of months that you have contributed towards the scheme. So the higher the number of months that you contribute towards the scheme, the higher your pension right. Then the third factor is the age at which you retire, which is also very, very necessary. If you retire at the age of 60, then you get full pension. If you retire between the age 55 and 59, then you receive what we call the reduced pension. So these are the factors that determine the pension that you earn. And that is exactly what we are going to use to show you how your pension is calculated. So you have your first one, we talked about the salary, which is the average of your 3 base years salary. In other words, your salary for year 1, the best years, the second best years, year 2, year 3. So 12 months, 12 months, 12 months. Put together, then we divide it by 3, and that will give you the average of your best 3 years salary. Then we'll look at your pension right, which is determined by the number of months that you contribute towards the scheme. The minimum contribution period that qualifies you for pension will earn you a pension right of 37.5%. And it will grow at the rate of 1.25% annually till you attained the maximum pension right of 60%. Then, should you decide to go on retirement early, or you want to take an early shower, then we multiply it by the early retirement factor, depending on the age that you retire. So we move on to see an example and see how we can now calculate our pension. So we move on to example, which is on page 23. Page 23. So we'll look at the scenario, page 23. Page 23. Example, a member is retiring at the age of 60 years and has contributed for a period of 250 months with the following 3 best years annual salaries of 60,000, 58,000, and then 44,000. So how do we calculate? The first one is calculate the monthly pension under PNDC Law 247. We'll go over that. Calculate the 25%, which is also under PNDC Law 2. So we'll look at the third one, where you will have to do the calculation under the Act 766. So your retirement under Act 766. So the first thing, you determine the age reduction factor. Looking at the scenario that we just used, the man retired at the age of 60. So at the age of 60, then the retirement factor is 1. Remember, any number multiplied by 1 gives you the same number. But if the man had retired earlier, then the age factor would have reduced. So in the case of this scenario, he retired at the age of 60, and for that matter, when we apply the formula, we multiply it at the end of the day, early retirement factor will be times 1. So that will give us the same thing. So it's not more relevant here. So the next one is to look at the, let's see, is a pension right? That calculation confuses people a little bit. So we can see the example that we have here. The man worked for 250 month. So step 2, we are trying to calculate the man's pension right. The man worked for 250 months. So like we rightly said, if you do a minimum of 180 months, you get 37.5%. Since the man did 250, any additional should attract an interest of 1.125%. Now with a 1.125%, when you divide it into years, you can get that one. But what about the months in addition to the years? So for the calculation to be so simple, we divide the yearly increment of 1.125 by 12, and that will give you 0.09375. But if you look at what is over here, we have changed it to decimal. The other one, 0.09375, is percent. So if you want it in the decimal point, then you divide it by 100, and that will give you the 0.009375. So you take what, you subtract 180 month from the 250 months. So what is left is the number of months that we need to multiply it by the 0.009375. Now, when you multiply by that one, what you get, then you add it to the 0.375 or the 37.5% at the 180 months minimum point, and that will give you a total pension right of 44.06. It's easy to calculate when you go by this step. When you go by this step. So we'll move on to the next one that should talk about the best salaries. So for the best salaries, you take year 1, year 2, year 3. You put them together and you divide it by 3, and that will give you the average best 3 years salary. I hope that is clear. So when you are able to do that, the calculation will give you 54,000 as the average of your best 3 years salary. Now back to the formula. The average 3 best year salary, which is 54,000, times the pension right, which is 44.06, then times the early retirement factor or the age reduction factor, which is, in this case, the man was 60 years, so that one will be 1. So when you multiply, you get 23,793.75. Remember, we're using annual salaries, so the answer that we get is also annual. So for you to be able to determine the monthly pension, then you have to divide the 23,793.75, which is the annual pension, by 12. And when you divide, and that will give you a monthly pension of 1982.81. This is how you can easily calculate your pension. And somebody will ask, so where do I get this information? Immediately you request for your statement of account, or immediately receive your statement of account. Number 1, you will see all your 3 best year salary. Number 2, you will see the number of months that you have also contributed. That will enable you to calculate your pension right. And then number 3, you will also see your, what we call the past credit. Past credit. Remember, the past credit has to do with those who transited from the PNDC law 247 to the Act 766. Those of us who originally were under PNDC law 247, the contribution rate was 17.5%, and SSNIT was using that to pay both pension and lump sum. Now, with the enactment of the Act 766, SSNIT was only to concentrate on the payment of pension under the tier 1. And then the lump sum was given to tier 2. That is for those fund managers and the trustees to manage that one. So they are going to use that one to pay the lump sum. So now the question is, so now that we have transited from 247 and we are now under Act 766, what happens to the difference that we paid? Under 247, we're paying 17.5%. Now under Act 766, the contribution rate is 13.5%. So when you do the subtraction, you get a difference of 4%. So that 4% from the time that you join the scheme up to December 2009, that PNDC law 247 was phased out. Then when we put them together, plus the interest, and that will give you what we call the past credit. Now the computation for the past credit has been improved, or it has been enhanced. Enhanced in the sense that previously it was 75% of the prevailing treasury bill rate that is applied on the accumulated 4%. But now it has changed from the 75% of the prevailing treasury bill rate to 100% treasury bill rate. Under 247, initially, it was rolled over annually, but now it has been improved in the sense that it's now supposed to be rolled out quarterly. So it means that it will roll back, take the principal plus the interest every quarter and begin to apply the prevailing treasury bill rate 100%, and that has also improved the past credit. So that is how you can compute your pension. In other words, under SSNIT, you should also able to know your retirement number. Just as under Databank, you should be able to know your retirement number. So for pension, as we've been saying, is for life. What you put into the kitty determines what you get at the end of the day. So you realize that for those who are on the higher salaries are receiving so much pension, and as the CEO elaborated from the beginning, you saw the highest pension being 118,000. And he was talking about the average of the 792. Now the question is, that is the average, and that average is not for anybody. You determine your pension right, or you determine your retirement pension number by your salary. So if you're able to work hard, if you can learn from my example that I gave initially, you will definitely be able to cross that average of 792, and you'll be able to receive a meaningful pension. And then you go on retirement and you will feel so comfortable for being a member of the scheme. So for you to retire, please, for you to plan, the planning should start now, or the very first day you had your appointment letter. That is when you have to start planning for your retirement. You decide where you want to settle. It is very, very important, so that when you go on retirement, you know that if it is a place where the standard of living or the cost of living is very high, please, you know your retirement pension number. You know where to settle. As I sometimes, excuse me, we compare Zongo to that of the town. And for Zongo, things are really affordable. You can go in with your low pension, but for those who are having the highest pension, cannot afford to live everywhere and even be touring, going to abroad in and out and then come back, because they have a very good pension. So that is number one. Number two, you should be able to decide when you should retire. If you know how to do the computation, you can decide to take an early shower. There was a man who came here 4 days ago. After we did a computation for him, he said, "Oh, Master, I think I can take an early shower, because now that I know my retirement pension number, I can go home peacefully." And the man said that hopefully next month he's coming to start processing his pension and take his reduced pension. And he thinks that with the knowing his reduction, knowing his retirement number, he's now at peace to retire peacefully. So if you don't know when you are going to retire, it's also something. So if you think that your salary is not enough and there's an opportunity for you to wait to attain the age of 60 for it to increase so that you have a very good best 3 year salary, then you have to wait till you attain the age of 60, and that will give you the full pension. And last but not the least, when you are planning for your retirement, please, please, there are experts. Please, please, there are professionals. If you want to retire to have a very meaningful retirement number from SSNIT, please contact the experts. And the experts of which I can tell you I'm one of them. My area manager is also there, and almost all the SSNIT experts are there. We are experts to be able to help you to get a meaningful pension when you go on retirement. But please remember, if it has to do with tier 2, don't forget to contact the data bank, the experts who has given us this opportunity to share the tier 1 with you. We are most grateful, and we wish all the participants all the best in the course of the program. God.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Edmund. Thank you. I mean, you have really shared and given of yourself over the last 3 days.
3 days.
So 4 days. Well, Frank was day 1, but
yeah,
we're really grateful for SSNIT's participation and all the insights that you guys bring. You really indeed are experts in the field. So thank you. So we'll come back to you in a bit for the Q&A. But before we move to that, there is somebody that I would like to introduce who will briefly share his story on retirement planning with you. And then we will have a few giveaways. Then we'll move into the Q&A section. So the next person that is up is a gentleman by the name of Mr. Thomas Ba. And I had the pleasure of meeting him last year when we did a retirement tour in Hope. At the time, he was the HR director of Hope Teaching Hospital. Now he is the director of admin.
Let's do that so that at least you get some units for it. Or this time they didn't.
Sorry, Edmund. Okay, I've muted him. Anyway, so Thomas, as I said, was head of HR for Hope Teaching Hospital, and now currently he is the director of admin for the Zongo Development Fund. But he is someone who I think there's so many lessons that you can take from today. I want to say that if you don't listen to anybody else, listen to him. But no, I think you need to have listened to Kojo, you would have needed to listen to Edmund, but you also need to listen to Thomas, because the situation he found himself in is a situation that many of you may actually be in or could easily find yourselves in. So I'd like to introduce Thomas, and Thomas, I'll turn it over to you, but thank you once again for being willing to be open and honest and put yourself out there on camera for everyone to see while you share your story. So thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to Kojo. Good afternoon to the speakers, marketing manager. Good afternoon to you. Thanks so
Hi,
much.
Thomas.
It's been a long. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
We can.
You okay? So thanks so much, and a good afternoon to all participants on this show. Well, I wasn't educated, and I decided to educate people. So it looks quite funny for myself, but I think I only pray that people shouldn't fall in my or be the way I am at the moment. But by and large, I do tell myself that I'm not too late. As the marketing manager, they will say, never too late. It's true, I'm never too late. Though very late, but never too late, but very late, indeed. So if you are there listening to me today, as she said, when 9 years to my retirement, we met, I was a presenter, a facilitator. And I realized that no, maybe it was a spirit of God who directed them to come and look for me to be one of their facilitators on this program. But 1995, I started working as a trained teacher, came out, and I kept saying that SSNIT, today that we have Edmond, the whole of the week teaching us using Databank marketing structures to teach us. So happy. We never had that chance when we were in school. When we just came out 1995, he can't really tell me that they were not doing much education to us. Of course, there were not so much insurance companies. We are tied to them alone. So when I came out from training college, I remember very well, there lived a woman in my father's house called Kate. Kate died number of years back. But I remember very well when I received my first salary in those days, she told me to try to save something. That was about 50 pesos and then. I said, don't worry, I can even save up to 1 cedi. She said, no, try and even save 1 peso. I couldn't. She added quickly that I should never go in for a loan in my lifetime as I start my working career or ladder. Well, I said I'll never go in for a loan, young guy. But I remember very well, before I celebrate my first working year, or at the end of my first year appointment letter, I went in for about 2-3 overdraft, and that begins my problem. That started my woes, and that was my downfall. I kept saying my downfall today. I know Kojo was saying don't say your downfall, but I said it. That's my downfall today. So once I keep going for loans of overdraft upon overdraft, then the curse the woman posed on me never to go for a loan, I went in for a first loan. And ever since, in the rural banks, I was then saving with Asawa Rural Bank, if you know, those who know Manya Kobo, Manya very well. And we have something we call additional loans. So you go in for the loan, you have not finished paying, you go in for additional. And you could surprise you that I even went in for a loan to marry. The woman I was coming to marry, nobody was chasing me to marry her, but I have to go in for a loan to marry her. I have children with her already. I could have my patient, but I went in for a loan. If you take a loan to marry a woman, you know the type of happy home you will be. Whether the home will be too happy. No, you are sure you will not be. I went in for a number of loans to educate my own self, same time number of loans to educate my children I have with the woman. It's not a small thing. All along this particular time, I've never started any single insurance plan in my life. I never rely on anything. I have nothing. But you just think about somebody who will be going for overdraft loans, additional loans. How much are you there to save it? And this is where I said I cursed SSNIT and government officials because they just gave us appointment letters, certificate, go and teach. And teaching at the village, eating and drinking nice quality appetition and nice food. You can just imagine. You don't think about saving money at all in your lifetime. SSNIT was, we had that bad perception about SSNIT. Our predecessor always said that SSNIT is not good. They will save so much, they give you small money. We tried all means, SSNIT wasn't so good. We were not even educated on anything. I went through all these things. And as at last year when I had this program, even at age 51, I was still staying in my father's house. And up to date today, I'm still staying in my father's house. Fortunately, he put out a very big house, but I'm still staying in the house. I never thought of going any land. It was after this program, which I was a facilitator, and I said to myself, no, it means the little money I get and waste, the little monies I organize or people give me, I can save. And I can tell you that May this year, for the first time in my life, I bought 2 plots of land. I didn't save at any insurance company though, but I only decided to save the money on my phone. And within a year after this program, I was able to buy a land. Why do I always come out to say this? And today, my daughter is even on there. She has logged in. So, Kojo, you'll be happy to see my daughter has made market up for you or people at Soccer Day. And she said most of her friends have joined this. Don't worry. I asked Jude to go there. I said Jude was there today. So Jude, you can ask Jude. I will tell you. She's on the line. She's called Eunice. Maybe you can ask her when she...
Welcome, Eunice.
Yeah. So when my daughter started working and she started saving money, and I asked myself, it's better I praise her to start doing it. So yesterday I had to force her to quickly be on the show. She quickly call your people to come and register here. I said, just start paying small, don't pay too big, so that you also start going for low in Africa. All that I'm trying to say here is I am still going through the damage which I caused for myself. I couldn't control it fully yet. I promised to start saving something from this month, because yesterday they told I have 88,000 if I decide to spend just 500 cedis to Databank. 88,000. 8 years will just pass. I spent 8 years in a whole teaching hospital, and it just passed like something. So you assume I was paying that money, like 88,000, like the best car or the best house in my hometown should be the one putting it up. So this one I said I'm trying to do and do it. So anybody who is listening to me now, I'm telling you, my personal life is not about Googling to read and tell anybody no. I didn't Google, I didn't do a research. It's my personal life I'm sharing. But I realize, if assuming I have started, I always mention about, and then there came this financial institution, Israel Loan, Bayport. I can mention their name because I'm their client. I am their client, so they know me very well. Because with that one, when you just call them on phone, they bring the money, they beg you. As soon as they take it, the deduction starts. And I took one big one from, the highest one I've ever taken was 14,000 from Stanbic. And I ended up paying 36,000. And that's when I mentioned it, then my heart bleeds, because because the woman told me not to go in for a loan. I went in for 140 million. And I ended up paying 360 million euros. I could have used that money to start some small, at least could have put boat for me, came by a house self-contained, and I would have been enjoying that. So if you are here listening to me, my brother, my sister, if you haven't started, and if you are about 1 year, 2 years in your first appointment, then you are getting late. If you are 5 years, then you are getting too late. But in yours is better. I have 8 years, and I just bought a plot to go on retirement. I don't know when I'll go so that I can enjoy what we call a voluntary pension, as Edmond has been singing about it, so that I can have time in my youth age, enjoy my work. So if you haven't done anything, please take my advice. Join a good one, like Databank. My problem with them is they are in the competition with SSNIT, but they always partner SSNIT. It means they are a good company that you can put your investment or your money into them. So my brothers, sisters, that is me, and I bought a plot. I said tomorrow I'm going to give money to somebody who is molding, who has to mold block for me. I said I needed 5,000 blocks to be molded for me. They gave me the bill tomorrow. I have the money on my phone. I'm rushing. So no call. From here straight, I'm going to drive. I'll go early because I have about 2,000 in my bag, so that I know if to arrest me, take that paper. Otherwise, back to square one. Please, these are true stories about me. If I have to get the blog, I'll take a picture and send it to my sweetest marketing manager. I stand beside and say, this is how far Databank has brought me. My daughter was laughing at me when we finished the show yesterday. She said, oh, Dad, so you didn't say because of us. I said, yes, I'm going to say because of you. So thanks so much. Please do something today. Don't waste time. Thank you so much, Kojo. Thank you so much, marketing manager. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Thomas. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, I think you've had the opportunity to hear from 3 different people, from 3 different walks of lives with 3 different perspectives, and at least one of them should motivate you to start preparing for your retirement. So before we get started with the Q&A, I'm just going to, we'll have a few giveaways. Please don't raise your hand yet. We'll have a few giveaways, and I'm going to give away some airtime first, and then we'll do a couple gift vouchers later in the program. So when I ask the question, then please raise your hands. If you've won from yesterday or the day before, give somebody else a chance, please. Spread the love, spread the gifts around. But raise your hand and then we will unmute you and then you can answer your question. So question 1 is, and this is for 20 CDs airtime, What was the first mutual fund to be introduced by Databank and in which year? So this one is very easy. Okay. So I'm unmuting Doris Mensah. So Doris, please unmute yourself and then give us the answer. So the question was, what was the first mutual fund to be introduced by Databank and in which year?
Please, that one I wasn't around, so I don't know about that one. I didn't start early.
Okay, thank you, Doris. So we'll move on to the next person. And the next person is Cecilia. The question was, what was the first mutual fund to be introduced by Databank and in what year?
The first mutual fund is EPAC.
Uh-huh.
EPAC. The year 1998.
No. Okay, no, not.
The year, I'm not so sure.
Okay, well, good try. Let me move on to Alexander and see if he has an answer. Alexander, unmute yourself and give us the answer if you can. Still keeps moving.
Hello?
Yes, Alexander, go ahead. Oh, I did. Okay. Alexander, I'm not sure whether you muted yourself because you don't know the answer or what. So I'm going to try and unmute you one more time. Oh, you've lowered your hand. Okay, so Patricia.
Okay, it's EPAC 1996.
Yes, EPAC 1996. Well done, Patricia. So somebody will reach out to you in the chat and then just confirm your details, and then we'll follow up and give you the airtime.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. So if everybody can lower their hands, I have another question, which I hope you will find it easier then. But please lower your hands. All the blue hands. All the hands, please. Oh, I can't start until all the hands are down. There's still 3 up and 2 up, and now we're back to 3 and then 2. Please, okay, I'll lower your hand for you. Okay, next question. According to Kojo's presentation, out of every 100 Ghanaians who retire, how many will retire comfortably? How many must continue working? And how many will largely depend on charity, relatives, or SSNIT? Doris, you have a very quick hand. You are back again. So we'll wish you the best with this question. Please unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hi, Doris.
Please, he said 2 can retire comfortably or successfully. Yes, 23 will continue working. Then 75 will depend on relatives, SSNIT, and other things.
Awesome. Thank you for trying again. Well done. So we'll reach out to you in the chat as well. You've gotten 20 CDs airtime.
Thank you.
And then now we have a 50 CD gift voucher. Last question before we move to the Q&A. So please lower your hands. And then I'll ask this question. I'm just waiting for the hands to go down. Very good, thank you. So 50 CD gift voucher. I see a hand up already. Godwins, you should have left your hand up. What is the definition of your retirement number? What is the definition of your retirement number? I see Eric Achampong as the first hand up. Eric, unmute yourself, please, and give us the answer. Eric. Okay, Eric, if I can't hear you, then I can't give you. Okay, we'll try one last time, but you'll need to unmute yourself. So I'm counting down. Going once, going twice, and Eric, you can't unmute yourself. Okay, going 3 times. So I'll move to Josephine. Josephine, please unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hi, Josephine. And the question was, what is the definition of your retirement number? We gave it in Kojo's presentation.
Your retirement number is the amount of money you should save every month so that you can have a comfortable retirement.
Thank you. Yes, very good. Okay, so well done, Josephine. We'll reach out to you in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you.
You got a 50 CD gift voucher for that. So now I would ask everyone to lower their hands or keep your hand raised if you have a question for either Kojo or Edmund from SSNIT. Because now at this point, when I unmute you, I'm going to ask you, what is your question? So Josephine, your hand is still, okay, your hand is still up. So I'm going to check and see if you have a question. So you'll have to unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yes.
Please come again.
Do you have a question now for any of the panelists?
Actually, I don't have a question. It's been very clear and straightforward so far.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you so much for the feedback, Josephine.
You're welcome.
All right. Doris, I am coming to you to see if you have a question. Can you please unmute yourself? And then that will be followed by Clement. So Clement, once Doris is done, you can unmute yourself and speak. Doris, go ahead.
No, I don't have any question, but the program is interesting. I love it.
Thank you very much, Doris. Okay, thank you. Okay, so just to be clear, you can, if you don't have a question, you can lower your hand and then I won't call on you, but I love to hear your feedback. So Clement, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Followed by Infinix Note 2 and then James Bimpe. James Bimpe. Okay, Clement, are you able to unmute yourself? Okay, I'll go with Infinix Note.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, Clement, go ahead. And then the person that's on Infinix, just hold 1 minute, please. Clement, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. The presentation has been very helpful and educative. I want to ask Mr. Sampi about the amount you'll be receiving at the end of every month when you retire. He made mention of a 15-year period that between 60 and 75, you'll be paid an amount, and that amount is like an accumulated amount that you've saved. And if in that period you die or something, the rest will be calculated and paid to your beneficiaries. But then what if you don't die after You don't die before 75. After 75, say if I live up to 120, will I still receive the same amount, say 1,500 if I'm receiving that during my pension period? Will I receive that throughout my years, even after 75 till I die? Or right after 75, there will be a new computation of the amount that I receive every month? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Clement. I'm going to take a couple more questions and then we'll get to the answers. Infinix Note 2, you'll have to give me your name first and then ask your question.
Ebenezer.
Okay, hi Ebenezer.
All right, my question is actually about the computation of the SSNIT benefit.
Okay. You want to know how it's computed?
Right, I don't know if it was, I was unable to hear him clearly, but now have more. Yes, please.
Okay, all right. So we'll ask him to quickly go through it again. Thank you. Okay, then, 1 second. James, can you please, okay, you're unmuted, good. What's your question? James, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
I said the very helpful to the my question is I'm in the information sector. Hello.
It's breaking. Can you start again, please?
I said I am in the information sector. Can you hear me?
I heard that you said you're in the informal sector.
Yes, I have not really followed up my business.
Okay, James. James, your connection is very bad. If you can put your question in the chat, then we'll read it out on your behalf. Because your voice is breaking. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Vida Dakwa, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, Vida, go ahead. Yes.
Please, I want to know if you are working in Ghana and you move outside, can you still continue your SSNIT contribution?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Edmund, I'll ask you to, okay, so Kojo will respond and then Edmund, I'll ask you to come in as well.
Actually, Edmund, I don't have a question to respond to, but I just want you to, in your answers, please explain the 25,000 cap under Act 766 and the 60% giving a maximum of 15,000 for pension under Tier 1 for Act 766 when you are explaining the answers. That's all I wanted to remind you of. Thank you.
Okay, Edmund, you can, Sam P. Oh, wow, hold on. Hang on, it looks like he dropped off and he's on his way back. So while he is getting connected, 1 minute, let me just check the, okay, I'll do a question for Kojo in the meantime from the chat and then we'll continue. So Joel asks, he's a consultant, which means that he has to pay his SSNIT and other funds personally. Is there an option or package for me to pay my pension directly with Databank?
So if you are to do your pension under any of the 3 tiers that are wrapped under Act 766 amended 883, you have to necessarily go through a trustee. So tier 1, the trustee is SSNIT. For all those who may have forgotten, SSNIT's full name is Social Security and National Insurance Trust. So they are the trustee for tier 1. Tiers 2 and 3, you will need to have a conversation with any of the registered corporate trustees, and then they come through a fund manager. You can actually come to us, and we will also do the reverse and work it through the trustee. So to answer the question, yes, if you want it in any of the 3 tiers, we will necessarily have to do it through a trustee. But you can also have a private arrangement with us directly, which will, technically speaking, not be wrapped under Act 766, but it will still be under the Securities and Securities Industry Law Act 929, so that you are protected from any sort of rogue fund manager or anything of that sort. So you can come to us directly, and depending on what you want, we can put something together for you.
Thank you, Kojo. Okay, Edmund, let me just check and see if you're in. Give me 1 minute. Okay, I think he's still having a connection problem. So Kojo will continue, and Kojo, I'll continue with a couple other questions.
So I just want, so that I don't know what's happening with some people, but I just want to bring your minds to the cap that we hinted in the initial stages, where you had seen in the presentation I made that the highest monthly pension paid out today was 118,000. Under Act 766, at least at tier 1, nobody, as at 2020, the year 2020, nobody is going to get a pension more than 15,000 cedis. If you remember, Sam P's presentation did say that the highest pension right was at 60%. As we speak now, SSNIT caps the highest pension earnings at 25,000. So if your salary is higher than 25,000, let's say it's 30,000, when SSNIT is calculating the 13.5, they will calculate it on 25,000. And the tier 2 is also calculated, the 5% is also calculated on 25,000. The excess is up to you to decide what you want to do with it. And some people advise that you come and have a conversation with a fund manager like Databank, where the excess can then be put into a tier 3 account for you. But as we speak today, with the movement from PNDC Law 247 to Act 766, currently the highest pension calculation is pegged at 25,000. So if you are even able to get the full pension right of 60%, all you can earn under tier 1 is 15,000 cedis a month. Then you have the added advantage of tier 2, which can be a bulk amount, or you can take it periodically, and you have the tier 3 option as well. So it is a very, very important change that has happened between the old Act 24 PNDC law and the current act that we have. That is something that I learned in our retirement series. And if you look at it carefully, you see that it then requires you to take very serious attention on your tier 2 and your tier 3. Go and check with who your corporate trustee is. It's very, very important. Ask your employer or your head of HR or your head of finance, who is our corporate trustee for tier 2 and tier 3 if you have. Get a statement from them. Check and be sure that there are no gaps in your statement, because that is your future right there. There are some rogue employers who will, on your pay slip, show you as if they've done the deduction, but it has actually not gone. You need to take an interest and go and check to make sure that you have no gaps. And there are numbers to call SSNIT if you find out that maybe your employer is not doing what they have to do. You don't really have to disclose your identity. There's a number that Sam P gave yesterday that you can call, 0302 611 622. And as he put it, you can quietly report your employer to that number, and they will do the appropriate investigation. If you do not take interest in what is happening on your pension, you wait and wait and wait. You will be 58, 59. You go to either your corporate trustee or SSNIT, only to find out that there are gaps in your pension statement. Then now SSNIT will tell you, go and bring a pay slip to prove, or go and bring a proof of a payment to you, and you may not be able to find it, and then they can't help you. So I'll strongly advise that you all take a lot of interest in what is happening to all the 3 tiers. Now, it's 3 different trustees you may have to deal with. So at Databank, as an example, our tier 1 is handled by SSNIT, our tier 2 is handled by Axis Pensions Trust, and our tier 3 is handled by enterprise trustees. So you have to, necessarily track and follow, and they all have some very good internet portals that they use in helping you access your statements and see what is going on in your pension space.
Okay, Kojo, there's another question. Somebody wants to know, how can they check their statements both at Databank and SSNIT?
Okay, so with SSNIT, the number I gave to you, they have an online portal, but you need to register. You can go to www.snit.org. I think that's their website. And then the number I gave, 0302 is 611622. You give the contact center a call, and they will guide you as to how you can access your statement. At Databank, there are various ways to access your statement. Of course, I don't think the person asking the question is wanting to walk into our physical branch. You can do that, that's an option. But more importantly, you can send an email to info, @databankgroup.com, and answer the necessary questions there and go through the processes. We will send you your statement. You've got to go through some registrations. Also, the one I love most is our USSD code, *6100#. You just type *6100#, whether you are a YAM phone or a modern phone, and register there. And thereafter, you can access your balance and your last few transactions, both on MTN and Vodafone. So life is quite easy. Like I keep saying, there's always a silver lining around COVID, and we are able to do everything you want to do on your Databank account, be it top up, be it withdrawal, be it inquiries, whatever it is you want to do from the comfort of wherever you are, wherever in the world you are.
Thank you very much, Kojo. And so you can check your statement online. Edmund, we'll come to you in a minute. You can check your statement online through our website, or as Kojo said, through the *6100# if you have MTN or Vodafone. Edmund, there were a number of questions, so I'll try and bring you up to speed and then get you to answer them. Okay. So,
yeah, thank you very much.
No problem.
Yeah, I think the first question from Clement. He wanted to know that when you
one moment
alive even after 75 years, will SSNIT
Erica Champong, can you please go on mute? We are trying to mute you.
Okay, Edmund, please go ahead.
Okay. Right. Clement was asking to know, when I talked about the compulsory retirement age of 60, and under the Act 766, you have a guaranteed period of 15 years, meaning after 75 years, should you pass on, you have nothing for your beneficiaries. But his question was, what about after 75 years? Remember, we said that when you start taking the SSNIT pension, it's for life till you die. So you can even attain the age of 120 that he just mentioned, and you'll still be taking your SSNIT pension. So it's for life. Once you are alive, you continue to enjoy it. But after 75 years, should you pass, then what we are saying is that there is no benefits left for your beneficiaries. Should you die, let's say at the age of 67, then it means that you have 8 more years to enjoy. And that is what we term as unexpired pension. That one will be paid to your beneficiaries. But if you're able to enjoy all the 15 years after that, that one is for life till you die. And then he wanted to know whether it's going to be the same. We do annual index taking into consideration. So SSNIT will increase it on annual basis. And so if you check from the previous annual indexations, you realize that there has been always annual increment just to cater for inflation and other economic factors that may affect the value of your monthly pension. So for SSNIT, it's for life. At the age of 20, please, you'll be receiving those annual increments of which the value of the money will still be maintained. Then the other guy wants us to
Edmund. Edmund, sorry, before you move on to the next question, if somebody's father passed at 73 or their parent passed at 73, it means that they can still claim for 2 years until age 75.
Yes, no, but you see, the father has passed on. So at the age of 73, 4 years will have to be calculated. The pension for that 2 years will have to be calculated and then paid to the beneficiaries.
Okay.
And that ends it.
Okay, thank you. You can continue.
Right. Okay. Then the formula for the computation of the pension. I said that the average of your 3 best years' salary. Remember the example that we use, year 1, year 2, and year 3. You add and then you divide it by 3, and that gives you the average of your 3 best years' salary. Then you multiply it by your pension right. And like I said, the pension right is determined by the number of months you contribute towards the scheme. And the qualifying condition for a full pension, you need to contribute for a minimum of 180 months, which is equivalent to 15 years. And that gives you a pension or a minimum pension right of 37.5%. So any additional year that you do after the 15 years that you've contributed toward the scheme in aggregate, it will earn you 1.125%. So you'll be adding that one to the 37.5 each year. The second year, the 1.125 times 2, you add it to the 37.5%. The third year, 1.125 times 3, you add it to the 37.5, and on and on. And that will end you at the maximum of 60%. For that 60% of pension right, then you would have contributed for 35 years. And that is where you'll be able to end your maximum pension right. And that gives you the 60%. And then you multiply it by the early retirement factor, or the what we sometimes call age reduction factor. If you should retire before 1960, then that percentage is also worked out and then multiply and reduce it. But if you retire at the age of 60, then that one, the early retirement factor will be 1. It means that it will not affect your computation, which will only be the average of your best 3 years salary times your pension right. So that is a recap for the formula for the pension calculation. So if you look at it, I said that you get 60% maximum. So when your average best year salary is calculated, the 60% will multiply by that. Now under Act 766, the salary that we apply the contribution rate on is capped. Initially, it used to be 20,000 and it was increased to 25,000. So if the person is able to contribute for to attain the maximum pension right of 60%, then his average salary, assuming that he takes the 25,000 for the 3 years, that is the maximum the person can get. And so when you divide it by, you still get the 25,000. So the 25,000 times the 60% will give you 15,000 Ghana cedis as the maximum pension now you can receive under Act 766. So that is how it is capped. But like I've always been advising, so if you are receiving a salary of 100,000 Ghana cedis, for SSNIT, you can only get 25,000, where we will place the contribution rate on the 13.5. Then it means that you are now left with 75,000. So the question is, how do I invest that 75,000? So the 75,000, then you can now move to your trustees, the private one. You know, SSNIT, we are only for tier 1. Tier 2, tier 3 is for the private companies like Databank. So you can consult them, and then they will be able to help you to see how you can invest the 75,000 that is left. Remember the slogan, we say you investigate before you invest. So you need to investigate, check to see establishment with a very good track record. And as far as I'm concerned, and with this particular program that we have an opportunity to speak on, I will recommend Databank for you because they have a very good track record. Remember yesterday, I quite remember when I was at the University of Ghana, I think somewhere in the year 2001, they were there. And from what we are gathering, I think, Julian, if I'm right, you've been in existence for 35 good years.
30.
Am I right?
30 years. 30
years.
Mm-hmm.
So 30 years, can you imagine? This is a tier 2 company which has been in existence for 30 good years. So with a very good track record, these are people that you can consult or you can contact for them to help you, give you an expert advice so that you can now also invest. So if you are going to take 60% and you think that you want to maintain your standard of living after retirement, then you need to invest something so that when you go on retirement, where you have now lost your income, SSNIT will only be able to give you part payment of the 60% of your 25,000, which will give you the 15,000. So you have to make sure, what do you do to consider or to make up the difference so that you can maintain the same standard of living that you find yourself before retirement. So it's always advisable to know that there's a maximum cap. And so if you are receiving more than the 25,000, SSNIT is going to truncate you to the 25,000 and apply the contribution rate on that one. And then at the end of the day, we'll calculate if you are able to do the maximum and retire at the age of 60. We take 60% of it, and that will become your pension. But remember, you also have what we call the past credit. And I think I took time also to explain the past credit. Since the time you joined the scheme to the December 2009, at that time it was 17.5%. Now under Assignment is 13.5. So the difference will give you the 4%. So for every statement of account that you take from SSNIT, you will see your past credit on it. Don't worry, the one who asks for the recap on the pension computation. We've done the 3 best years salary for you, and we've done the average also for you. We've also given you the number of months that you have contributed, and you will see all of them on your statement. So just with your statement of account, you can sit under the comfort of your home, office, wherever you find yourself, and you can compute, and you can make projections into the future, and you can determine when you want to retire, or you can determine what retirement pension number that you want, and you can make the projection and take that one. I think the retirement
Thank
number,
you, Edmund.
that one for free. So that is that for
Ebenezer.
I think the 2 questions that I have with the 25,000 cap.
Okay, so I'll read out a few more questions to you. There was a lady, Vida, who had asked a question and I didn't get a chance to note it and you dropped off. So I'll unmute her again. Vida, I'm going to ask you to just repeat your question, please. You can unmute yourself. Go ahead, Vida.
Hello. Please, I was asking, like, if you are working in Ghana and you move outside to work there, can you continue your SSNIT contribution or what do you have to do?
Okay, thank you. So Vida, you can mute yourself and then he will answer in a minute. Edmund, I'll give you a few other questions. So another question was, can multiple employers pay SSNIT for one employee at the same time? Then another question is the computation for your highest salary inclusive of salary arrears if it is paid in that year? Okay. Then similar to Vida, somebody says they're a Ghanaian citizen living abroad. How can they benefit from the pension plan? Then I'll give you two more. So one person says, what option is there for institutions like audit service who are not on SSNIT? Or maybe that's for you. But I think, Edmund, you can answer that one too. And then the other one that I would give you is, someone is asking, what happens when you contribute for a short period, like 3 years, and pass away or retire? So if you can take those, then we will continue.
Okay, thank you very much. So maybe let me start from the bottom. The 3 years and you passed on, all the contributions that you've contributed plus interest will be paid to your beneficiaries. All the contributions that you made for the 3 years with interest will be paid to your beneficiaries. Remember, we said that you need to contribute for a minimum of 180 months, which is equivalent to 15 years. So this 3 years is not up to the 15 years. And for that matter, you get a lump sum for your beneficiaries. Then the audit service, no audit service, you may do it as an individual and you may contact Databank and they will have something good for you because audit, they are not part of us. Then the salary arrears is inclusive, it's arrears. At the end of the year, when the salary is increased, they will not be able to pay until a later time. And once it is paid, when they pay arrears of salary, they also pay arrears on the social security contribution, and it will add up to your contribution already there, and that is going to really enhance your pension. So your salary arrears is inclusive to be part of your basic salary. So you also pay the difference as salaries of your contribution to SSNIT, and that's what we term as back pay. So institutions who are listening to us, they send us the back pay of their workers, and then we add it, they pay, and then we add it to their contribution. So salary arrears is inclusive. Then multiple contribution is also possible. We have people who work with 2 or more institutions. But remember, we said that you can never have more than one SS number or social security number. So the same number that you use for employer A, you have to use the same number for employer B. Then at the end of every month, the contributions will come from these 2 employers and it will come into one account. So employer A contribution plus employer B contribution will be credited to the account of the member. And that normally enhances. So please, if you are working in more than one establishment, ensure that where the employer-employee relationship is really established and you receive a salary at the end of the day, please ensure that your social security is also paid. Remember, it's going to enhance your pension. Then the lady abroad, for those who are in abroad, they also have a scheme there. If you can join, fine. If you cannot join, we can't make you a member of the scheme. If you want to be a member, those, especially those who even started here, they've done for a certain number of years. But when they move outside, you realize that their contributions will end at the time that they left the country. So when they get there, if they have any formal employment, then they will register over there and then they can contribute. But when they come back to Ghana, then, so those abroad, I'm afraid it will be difficult for us to get them registered with us so that they can be members of the scheme, because we need the necessary information, especially your thumbprints and your signature as well. So this is a gray area we may think of if there's the possibility of bringing them on board. But for now, we don't have any arrangement for those living abroad, and then they will be contributing towards this to register and be members of the scheme. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Edmund. I am going to open up the line to David. So David, please unmute yourself to ask your question. Then I'll go to Amma and then Johnson.
Hello.
Hi, David.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, go ahead.
Please, my question is about the tier 2 and tier 3. Now we understand the tier 1, the SSNIT is going to take care of that. But what about tier 2? Those of us who are working under GS and all those, we don't even know who our trustees are, who are managing our tier 2 and all those things. So how are we going to get to know that? And if in case you also want to get a tier 3, how are you also going to do that? That's what I want to ask.
Okay, thank you very much, David. We'll come to your answer shortly. Okay, next is Amma.
Hello.
Hi, Amma.
Good afternoon.
Go ahead.
I want to ask a question to Edmund. What if you worked for 14 years and you traveled? So that means you stopped contributing to SSNIT. How do you get your contribution that was made for over 14 years with SSNIT? How do you get the money back? Or is there anything you have to do or you have to do to get your money back? Or since you stopped contribution, that's it, your money is gone and you will not get it again? Thank you.
Thank you, Amma. Okay, Johnson, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you so much for your time. I have some few questions. The first one, can you back pay your SSNIT contribution to enjoy the maximum benefit? Can you back pay to enjoy the maximum benefit? Number 2, can you opt to pay SSNIT even after 60 years in order to enjoy your maximum benefit? You are 60, but you still want to pay in order to reach the maximum benefit. And also for multiple employers, are they still going to do the 30.5% on the 25,000 cap each, or is going to be adapted? That's for multiple employers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Johnson. Okay, those are all very good questions. So Edmund, I will let you talk first and then Kojo can come in. Edmund, can you hear me? Edmund. All right, I am not hearing you. So
think I'm through now. Hello?
Yes, yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The first question from Amma, that she did 14 years and couldn't continue. Amma can now only assess the 14 years that she did at the age of 55 up to 60 years. Remember, we said that you need to contribute for a minimum of 15 years to qualify for full pension. So in the case of Amma, 14 years wouldn't qualify her for full pension. And if you are not able to do the 15 years minimum contribution, then you receive a lump sum. So Amma, at the age of 55, you can contact SSNIT. All the 14 years that you've done plus the interest will now be paid to you as lump sum. That is one-time payment. In your case, you cannot enjoy the full pension. Then somebody was asking if you can contribute backward, or in other words, what we normally call, you are trying to buy back your pension. Buying back your pension is really not allowed. So if you are in an institution and you have done a certain number of years, you only have to stay and you continue to, so you are able to do the minimum contribution period. Then the other aspect where the person has attained the age of 60, and in order also to make sure that he gets a higher salary, will decide to continue to be working and to also to be contributing. When you are at the age of 60, it is assumed that you have attained your compulsory retirement age. But we only create a little room for those who have some few, let's say, months to qualify for full pension. And that is where some few months will be allowed. So when you attain the age of 60, then you have to end it there. If you qualify for the full pension, then you'll be given the full pension. If you don't qualify and you have to take a lump sum, you will be given the lump sum, so that you don't go ahead, trying to find loopholes. Make sure that you increase your salary at the tail end, knowing very well that we use the best 3 years salary. But remember, we also make sure to check to see whether there is a suspected salary hike. Where there's a suspected salary hike, we'll use the right pension and then we'll bring it back to the normal salary that you're supposed to pay. But if you actually end it, then you will be able to get that salary increment also paid for you. Then for the multiple employers, like we said, the maximum cap of your salary is 25,000. So if you take, let's say, 20,000 at employer A and 20,000 at employer B, you contribute the first 13.5 on the 20,000 of employer A. Then when you come to employer B, the system will now truncate it to 5,000, so that it will add the 20,000 to the 5,000. That will give you the maximum cap of the 25,000. Then the other, what is left, will not be attracting any SSNIT contribution. So it will still cap the total together to 25,000. I hope that is clear. With the example that I gave, you take 20,000 and employee A, 20,000 in employee B. The first contribution that hits the system, it will compute the 13.5 on the 20,000. The second contribution that is coming into the system, having the same SS number, will not take all the 20,000, but will only compute on the 5,000 that is left for you to make the maximum cap of 25,000 as your salary. And the 13.5 will be applied to that 5,000. Then it will come and add up to the 20,000 that has already been done. And that will give you the same maximum cap of 25,000. The guy is trying to be smart, working with employers.
Okay, so a few more questions. There was a question that came in that I'll throw to Kojo about tier 2 and tier 3. How to know who is the trustee, etc.
So the question came from, I suspect, a teacher, because the person mentioned GES. So GES, you may belong to either NAT, NAGRAT, Concerned, or there are four unions under the GES purview, but definitely you belong to one of the unions. My recommendation is that and this is not only even to only GES, where you are under a unionized staff or organization, it's important that you contact your union executives. They know who they have appointed as corporate trustees. Most unionized organizations are the ones who are mainly the focus on who chooses the corporate trustee. Then the corporate trustee is, together with the unions, will identify appropriate fund managers. Most corporate trustees use at least 2 fund managers. Some use even 3 fund managers. So please, if you are under a unionized firm, get in touch with your union executives, and they will tell you who the corporate trustees are. It's important that you do so. If you are not in a unionized organization, most likely your head of HR and your head of finance, and of course the CEO, would know who the corporate trustees are. There are some organizations too who do not use external corporate trustees. They have their own internally arranged board of trustees. And once in a while, they will bring an independent member. And the board of trustees will comprise the head of HR, head of finance, maybe head of corporate or something. And then they will bring one external person to form the trustee. And they will then appoint a fund manager. But as for GES, I know specifically that they do have a corporate trustee, and they do have even an administrator, and then they have 2 fund managers. I can say that on authority. So depending on which of the unions you belong to, either NAT, NAGRAT, Concerned, or the 4th one that has just beaten my mind. No, TEU is the 4th. Yes, TEU is the 4th. Or TEU, you contact them and they will be able to tell you who the trustees are. And you can even demand statements to see where you are and what position in which, what the status of your pension is.
Thank you, Kojo. Okay, so we have a number, there are so many questions. We will not likely get through all, but I'll go with a few more and then we'll take some more answers. So Edmund, I'll come back to you with several questions. So the first one is, if you are a contract employee and there's no tier 1 or tier 2, the person is asking, can they contribute personally to tier 1 to help meet the minimum number of months? Edmund, did you get that one?
Please come again.
Okay, so the person is a contract employee and so is not, tier 1 and tier 2 are not being contributed on his or her behalf. And so they're asking, can I contribute personally to tier 1 to meet the minimum number of months? That's one question. Another question is on student loans, where the person is asking, if you repay a student loan from SSNIT, will it affect your pension? Then another person is asking, can the so the 37.5% that is used for the calculation, can it be increased or is it fixed? Then Godwin says, how do those who are pure commission workers contribute to SSNIT? Then Alex is asking, how is the early reduction factor calculated? And then the last one for you for now is, How can a self-employed person contribute to SSNIT? Can they open a SSNIT account? So we'll take your answers for those and then move on.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. I think the last one, which is talking about the self-employed. Self-employed, you can contribute towards the scheme and you are termed as a voluntary contributor. In that case, you are going to pay both the employer and then the employee contribution. Both employer and employee contribution. Remember, we said, as CEO did that in his introduction, 13.5% to SSNIT and then 5% to tier 2. When you are doing the deductions for the former, you realize that you deduct 5.5% from the employee's salary, and then the employer adds 13%, giving you the 18.5%. But when it comes to payment to tier 1 and tier 2, you pay 13.5% to SSNIT, and then the 5% to your tier 2 company or the trust, second tier trustees, giving you a total of the same 18.5 of your basic salary. So self-employed, you determine your salary, but remember the basic salary is 320. It shouldn't be anything less than that. So you pay both the employer and then the employee contribution put together, give you the 18.5%, and then you pay 13.5 to SSNIT as tier 1, and then 5% to the second tier company. So for self-employed, you can also join the scheme and you are always welcome. And we have a lot of self-employed who are also members of the scheme, and that is the way they also go about it. So please contact us. Like, you know, we have our contact number, or we call our contact center 0302 611 622. 0302 611 622. Or you can call at any nearest SSNIT office. And you can also call me directly, and I can assist you to make sure that you are employed and you join the scheme. Can contact me on 0244 815 720. 0244 815 720. Then somebody was asking how the early retirement factor is calculated. Now, what you have shown is the pension right. Okay, so we'll get to that one. So Godwin was also asking for the commission workers. So for the commission workers, they are workers and they have established an employer and employee relationship with whoever that they are working with for a commission. And so they are also supposed to pay their social security. So it has to be done. And we have others who are taking commission and of which they are also paying their social security. The only difference is that in their case, it fluctuates. It depends on what you do at the end of every month. Then you are able to get your salary at the end of the month. Then they apply the contribution rate to that. Then somebody was asking whether the 37.5% is fixed. Remember, we said that it's not fixed. When you're able to do the minimum contribution for 180 months, that is where you'll be entitled to 37.5%. But as and when you increase your monthly contribution period, then your pension right of 37.5 will also be increased. And I said for each year, it increased after you've done the 180 months or the 15 years. For each year, it attracts 1.125. And it can grow up to a maximum of 60%. So it is not fixed. It is being determined by the number of months you contribute. after you've done the minimum of 180 months, additional year attracts 1.125. So you attain the maximum of 60%. But then you would have done 35 years, and that will give you the 60% as maximum. So it's not fixed. Then I want to ask of the student loan paid from the SSNIT contribution, will it affect your pension calculation? Remember, we said that we have the 3 factors. Number 1 is your salary. Number 2 is the number of months that you have contributed. So if your loan is, let's say, 20,000, the 20,000 that you use to pay your student loan, the question is, the 20,000, how many months does it cover for your monthly contribution? So assuming that it covers, let's say, 6 months, for you to use the 6 months, that will give you the 20,000 to pay your SSNIT loan. Then your contribution period will be reduced by that 6 months. So remember, once your contribution period is reduced, then when it comes to computation of your pension right, you realize that your pension right will reduce by that margin. But most of our students are able to cross even the maximum 60%. Then at the end of the day, you realize that that period may not even affect his computation. But where you are not able to do up to the maximum, then that difference, the number of months that you use to pay your contribution of that 20,000 will affect your pension computation. Then we have somebody who's talking about the contract employee. The contract employee. In SSNIT, or as far as the law is concerned, we don't have definition for contract. We have definition for worker. And any worker, once the employer and employee relationship is established, you are obliged to be a member of the scheme. The employer is obliged to make sure that you are registered and they pay your contribution. So if you are on contract with any institution and where that employer-employee relationship has been established and you earn your income from the employer is obliged to make sure you are a worker. And so that is the definition for a worker, not necessarily that it should be a permanent staff. We have casuals, we have contract staff, we have temporary staff, and sometimes we even have the locum from the nurses side where they work with a government institution, then they join another private hospital or clinics. Once they also earn an income over there, they are supposed to also contribute for them. So for a contract employee, you are entitled to the tier 1 and then the tier 2 contribution. The employer is mandated to ensure that they also contribute on your behalf. So that is what we're supposed to do. Now, can you show me the 55 years? Now I'm looking for the table and I'll give you the table for the 55 years to 59 years. Then we'll be able to show you the age reduction factor. Each additional year will give you will add 7.5%. So it starts from 55 years, you get 60% as the age reduction factor. Then 56 years, you add 7.5, and that will give you 67.5 as the age reduction factor. Then 57, the 7.5 times 2, that will give you 15. So the 15 plus the 60 will give you 75%. Please, are you getting me? At the age of 55, remember the reduced pension. The age reduction factor starts with the 60%. Then each additional year will give you the 7.5. So 55 will give you 60%. 56 will give you 67.5%. 57 years will give you 75. This is how we do the age reduction factor. So when we are done with the average of your 3 base years, times your pension right, since you are going at the age of 55 years, we'll multiply it by 60. In other words, it will be reduced by 40%. If you go at the age of 56, go on retirement at the age of 56, that will give you the 67.5%. So if you look at the difference, the 40 now minus the 7.5, and that will give you the age reduction factor. So you get to, so if you do the projection, by the time you get to 60, then you'll be able to get 100%, and that is where the age reduction factor will now be 1 or 100%. So that is how the age reduction factor is computed to reduce your pension. It's for only those who are going on reduced pension, those who are retiring earlier than the age of 60 years, or else you wait when you attain the age of 60, then you take your full pension. No early retirement factor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Edmund. So somebody asked, they said, Eric, and I'll answer this question for Eric. So he said, he's age 36, he does not have SSNIT, and he wants 10,000 a month. By the time, so he wants to be able to take 10,000 a month when he is age 60. So I'm actually just going to share my screen and then do the calculation. The reason I'm sharing my screen is so that everybody can see how they can also do this calculation for themselves. So you would need to go to Databank's website. And when you go to our website, you'll see one of the tabs that says Tools. Under Tools, you will see several calculators that are listed. But the one that you want is General Retirement Calculator. So when you click that, you'll see again all the calculators, and you click General Retirement Calculator. So now, using what Eric said, he says he wants to retire at age 60. So I enter 60, under what age do you want to retire? Then he says, the next question is, how old are you now? He says he's 36. So it shows that he has 24 years to retirement. Then the question is, how much money do you need on a monthly basis to retire comfortably? And he said 10,000. So I've entered 10,000. Then we also ask, how many years do you expect to be in retirement? Normally, we say budget for at least 25 years. But if you have family members that are living to 100 or 120, then you may want to increase the number. So I'm just putting in 25 years for now. What it is showing is that he would need a total of 3 million to retire comfortably based on what he has said. So then the next question is, how much money does he already have invested towards retirement? And I'm going to assume at this point, 0. It may be different. So Eric, if you're watching and it's different, you can come back and adjust this amount. And then we'll assume that when it comes to investing, you don't like a lot of risk. And so we'll leave that in place, but you can change it as well. What it shows is that if you want 10,000 a month when you hit age 60 and going for at least 25 years, then you would need to invest 1,272 CDs every month, assuming that you are getting an interest rate of 15% a year. We have not accounted for inflation, so we always say try and increase the amount that you invest every year to match inflation. But this gives you an idea of how much you would need to calculate. And again, so your retirement number, to bring it back, is 1,272 CDs a month. But you can always go back and adjust your desired monthly amount, or try adjusting something else. But that just gives you an idea. So everyone, you can go to our website and try out the tools. The next question is for Kojo. And I'll just Benedicta was asking what investment options are available, or what investment options would you advise? Then I'll come to the people with their hands raised.
Okay, so the way we do it at Databank, we don't just tell you to invest in product B or product C. We believe that across our 5 mutual funds plus treasury bills, the mutual funds being EPAC, ARC Fund, B Fund, EDI Fund 1 and 2, and then M Fund, we have a product that will meet everybody's needs and risk profile. The product that is meant for you, in our view, depends primarily on your risk tolerance and how much you can stomach volatility. And of course, what it is your objectives are and the time that you have available to invest. And that's why we always, your greatest asset when it comes to investing is time. So across the spectrum that I mentioned, usually the product with the highest volatility is EPAC, because we invest primarily in stocks. And we all know that the various stock markets across Africa just fluctuate. So it can go up or it can come down. And you usually ask yourself, if you invested in EPAC and you came and checked a year later and you're maybe you invested 100 CDs and it's now showing 80 CDs, how will you react? If you say you will panic and immediately take all your money away and even insult Databank that we don't know what we are doing, then that's not the product for you. It means you have a very, very low risk tolerance. And the other end of the spectrum will be either EDI Fund Tier 1 or M Fund, because we invest primarily in fixed income products like bills, bonds, 2-year bonds, Ghana securities, and a few corporate bonds, where the rate of return is slow and steady, but there's very little volatility. Then in between, we have B Fund, ARC Fund, and EDI Fund Tier 2, which are balanced funds. And those ones have some equity and some fixed income in different proportions. So again, you will look at the proportions, and depending on how much risk you want to take and how much volatility you can handle, you pick the appropriate product for you. It's very, very important that we do it that way, because in our experience, we found out that a lot of people will just hear from friends that, hey, you know, I bought my car with EPAC, without necessarily checking when that person came into EPAC. They probably came into EPAC when the price was quite low, and maybe 5-6 stock markets did very well and went high. There are years where EPAC has returned even over 50%. But there are years, I mean, I think like this year, where you can see that EPAC is in negative territory. So those things happen. And the appropriate product for you, for us, depends on your risk tolerance, the time on your hand, and what your objective really is. So come to us and talk to one of our professionals, and then we will design and then recommend the appropriate product for you.
Thank you, Kojo. Okay, so there are a few more hands raised. We'll take those questions and then we will call it a day, because you guys have hung on and you have been very patient. We are really grateful. So I'm going to ask Bremansu, sorry. Bremansu. Here. Please unmute yourself. And then after that, Victor, I will ask you to unmute yourself, followed by Akosia. Okay, so Victor, okay, Bremansu, go away. Sorry, go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity, and thanks everyone for the contribution. I think my question has been partly answered by Edmond already. So I just wanted to ask, I contributed for a few years and then traveled abroad. And I just wanted to know if there's a way to get back on track. And I think he said something like, there is no more opportunity for you to link back into the SSNIT system. So I don't know if Kojo has something that Databank can help us get back in line as far as retirement fund is concerned. So that's just what I wanted to ask.
Thank you. Kojo will also answer, both Edmund and Kojo will answer that question. I will put you on mute and take some more questions. So Victor, if you can unmute yourself, please, and ask your question. And then I'll ask Isaac to unmute yourself and also ask your question. Isaac, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Gillian, and thank you for the platform. So I wanted to ask, I work with an institution where we have they call it a superannuation scheme in place. So we don't do the SSNIT Tier 1. Now that the NPRA law is in place, I want to know, is there going to be a time that such institutions will be asked to migrate to the SSNIT tier system, or they'll just have to keep that? And then for someone who is on there, can you also have your personal thing going on with any of the tier 2 or tier 3 institutions or trustees? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isaac. Okay, so we'll answer your question very shortly. Then I'll take Samuel and followed by John Bosco. So Samuel, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, hi Samuel, go ahead.
All right, so let's say you are self-employed, and then you're not contributing to SSNIT tier 1 nor tier 2, but then you want to have a comfortable retirement at the age of 60, and then you decide to go to Databank, and upon doing the calculation, you realize that when you use a low risk profile, and when you use a low risk profile and you're expecting 10,000 per month, you will have to contribute a little, about 500 cedis per month for retiring staying for like 90 years, retiring at 60. Do you understand?
Yes, I think so. Continue.
Okay, so let's say I'm contributing 500 per month to Databank because I don't have SSNIT tier 1 or tier 2. Is it advisable to spread the 500 across about 3 Databank packages or just one?
Okay, so your question is, how should you spread out your 500 CDs?
Yeah, is it advisable to spread or leave it in one account?
Okay, all right, thank you so much, Samuel. We'll answer in a minute. Thank you. John Bosco, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Actually, all my questions have been answered, but I want to also find out whether if you are contributing to tier 3, you have certain advantages like tax reduction in your income tax or any other thing that I want to get from Mr. Edmond. Thank you so much, and God richly bless you.
Thank you so much, John Bosco. Okay, so let us try and answer those questions. So starting with Remansu, who was out of Ghana and wants to get back on track and wants to know how Databank can help him. 1 minute, please. You're a chicken, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, Bremen, so I think Sampi had hinted that if you're out of the country, what you already contributed in Ghana's net, that stays. When you're 55 going at your convenience, you can come and take your lump sum. And then you check out in the country which you are working now, what Social Security is available, and you sign on to it. But where Databank is concerned, yes, you can continue, if you are an existing client, whichever product it is you had, you can continue investing in your product through our various digital channels. So in Europe and America, it's easier to use your Visa and MasterCard or do a transfer from your account. Those of you in China, I think is more difficult. But in Europe, it's much easier. You can also, there are some who are also able to still use our *6100 hash on MTN and Vodafone while they are abroad to do their transactions. So you can also explore that. So there are various ways to keep investing with us. You can go onto our website, www.databankgroup.com, and check out all the different options that are available to you. Then I had a second question. Okay, I'll let Sampi also tell us his view on superannuation, but from what I know, those who are on superannuation, and I know because University of Ghana are on superannuation and my dad is on superannuation, from what I know, they have resisted getting onto the SSNIT Tier 1 for a long time. I don't know what the conversation, where the conversations are, but as far as I know, superannuation will stay where it is. What I know though is they are trying to bring it into our space where it is properly managed by professionals. Most of the superannuations that are out there in the army, in the police service, in the university community are not quite managed in a professional manner. You would most of the time find the head of finance with a few other people claiming to manage it, but essentially it's not actively managed. They will likely drop everything into Government of Ghana T-bills and probably leave it as such. But there's a way to professionally actively manage it. And that is where I think is the next step, where the superannuation group will have professional fund managers like us actively managing it. As to whether it will be completely migrated to SSNIT, I can't tell. Maybe Sampi can tell. If you want to do your own personal investment, why not? I mean, Sampi in his presentation and mine too, we said you can have Tier 4, Tier 5, Tier 6. Depending on what you can afford, you can always have your own personal stuff, either even within Tier 3 under corporate trustee or directly with a fund manager like us. You come, you sit down with us, we discuss your needs, and then we will give you an appropriate product and give you periodic statements and reports that you can use to keep track. And then there was a question about if you figured out your risk tolerance, you have 500 CDs, do you spread it across? It's all about you. That's how I usually like to answer it. It's all about you. We try to avoid a situation where we give you a black and white answer, and then later on, if you don't understand what it is you are doing, you turn around blaming us. But it's about you and what you want to do. Personally, I have investments that I do across all the 5, knowing that one could be losing money or gaining a lot while the other is steady. So if you feel that keeping all the 500 in a more conservative account is what works for you, so be it. If you feel you want to split and you can tolerate some level of risk, then you could do a 90-10 or an 80-20 or a 70-30. It all depends on how much risk you can stomach when you see that your money is probably losing some value because the stock market is going down. So on this call, I will not want to say keep it all in one account or spread it over the 5. Know thyself, know the characteristics of the product, and then take a decision. Yeah, tier 3 does have tax reliefs. There's a tax advantage there. So the way the deductions work is the deductions are on your gross salary or the basic salary as we put it. So if you are having the tier 3 deduction, if let's just say it's 8%, even or 16% or whatever percentage it is, it's deducted before tax. So you pay a lower tax by the time the payroll software is at the time to deduct tax. If you are not in tier 3 and you're only in tier 2, it means that your chances of being in a higher tax bracket are bigger. But note, when you are doing tier 3, that tax benefit accrues to you only when you don't do any withdrawal for 10 years of contribution. If you are in the formal sector, you should be contributing for 10 years without any deduction before you take advantage of the tax. If you go and withdraw before 10 years, the penalties will apply and that tax benefit will not inure to you any longer. For the informal sector, you would have had to contribute for 5 years before you attempt any withdrawal to take full advantage of the tax benefits that is inherent in tier 3.
Thank you very much, Kojo. That was very comprehensive and to the point. So we are 2 minutes away from 5, so we'll have to stop taking questions now. I'm so sorry. However, Edmund, I'll let you come in and also just talk to the superannuation in a second. But I just want to let everybody know, while Edmund is answering the question, if you have any additional questions, put it in the chat, because we will still have a record of all the questions, and then we will make sure that we get you the answers, whether it's from Edmund or from Kojo, and send them to you during the course of next week. So we can't stay the whole evening and take questions, but we will get you your answers to your questions, yes. And then as soon as Edmund is done, we'll do our final giveaways and then we will call it a week. So Edmund, if you can just talk to the migration or possible migration of superannuation to SSNIT and what is happening there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You cannot belong to 2 schemes and you cannot enjoy 2 schemes. You either belong to SSNIT or you belong to your organization. Like you rightly said, most of the universities, when you attain a certain status, you are moved from the social security, then you joined that of the university superannuation. So for those who are under that one, cannot come back to SSNIT. And so they internally manage that for them. So for SSNIT, those superannuations cannot come back to SSNIT. So with the reason being that you cannot enjoy 2 schemes. So for whatever that they have contributed to SSNIT, you know, some of them started from the lower status and they managed to join the professional status where they join those superannuation at the university. What happens to them is that what they have contributed towards the SSNIT one, if it is enough to qualify them for their pension, they will get it. But if not, they take their lump sum and then they continue to take their superannuation from the university superannuation scheme. There's a name for it. I wish I could remember the name. So that is for the university. So superannuation belongs to those category of people at the universities and other places, but it cannot be for both the university and SSNIT. So over to you, Databank. You can still contact them and see how you can help them in other areas.
Okay, thank you so much, Edmund. So I'll ask everybody to lower their hands. While you're lowering your hands, I think Kojo has to do a very quick shout out. So please lower your hands.
If I don't do this, my old boys association guys are also going to finish me. Pescoba in the house. Thank you very much, Pescoba 8890. Abanshe, Willie Paul, Bandele, Raspusi, Hollowstone, Ion, name them. I think I'm even running out of time. But thank you guys. Thank you for your support. Thank you for promoting this. Pescobar in the US, Atache, Pescobar in UK, Zorozo and Co. Thank you so much for really promoting this. And I'm glad that the message is finally getting to our age group. Sampi, they are all 50 years old now before they are thinking of retirement. But it's all good. It's better late than never. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. You guys had some very interesting nicknames when you were in school. So we have 2 final gift vouchers to give away. Everybody's hand has been lowered. Each gift voucher is worth 100 CDs. So I'm going to ask the question and the raised hands will get a chance to answer. So, please lower the hand. I haven't started yet. Thank you. Okay.
You are very aggressive.
1 minute. Let me. Okay. Counting down. 3, 2, 1. Question. What is the minimum number of months you need to contribute to SSNIT under Act 766 and the percentage payout that you will get for that number of months? So let's start with Mahana Kojo. Okay, please unmute yourself and give me your answer. It's worth 100 CDs. Kojo.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, it is 180 months.
And what's the percentage payout? It's a 2-part question. What's the percentage payout that you will get?
75?
No. Oh no, sorry. So I'm moving to Nana Kweku Larbi. Nana, please unmute yourself.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So it's 180 months and the minimum payout is 37.5%.
Yes, correct. Okay, so Nana Kweku, you just won 100 CD gift voucher. I have 1 more to give away. And guys, for everybody who has won, we will then get in touch with you, and then next week we will do all the paperwork to get it to your account. So you will hear from us on that. So finally, so if I can get everybody to lower their hands one last time. 4 hands to go, 2 hands to go, 1 hand to go. Awesome. Okay. Final question, counting down 3, 2, 1. The hands are up. What birth year should you have? So the question is, from when would you need to have been born to be caught under Act 766? So you would have needed to be born on this date or after to fall under Act 766, which is what Edmund spent a lot of time talking about. So what is the date? I'll start with Eric. So Eric, unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, go ahead.
It's 1960.
When in 1960? You have to give me the month and date.
1960, that's January.
January when?
January 1st, 1960.
Thank you so much. Okay, so Eric, you're the final winner of 100 CD gift voucher. So we will get in touch with you and sort everything out. Just to say a really big thank you to Edmund and to Kojo, and to Frank, also from SSNIT, Frank Mobila, who was on Tuesday, and to Thomas Ba, who has been with us all 4 days. We're truly, truly grateful. Everybody, I hope if you have a question, you've put it in the chat. If not, and you think of a question tomorrow or the next day or the day after that, you can send an email, send it to marketing@databankgroup.com, and then we will compile all of them, get the answers, and respond to you. We will also share the recordings of the sessions. Next week, we will send that out. So thank you once again. I will just call on Josephine, who is our other head of sales. Emma was one, Josephine is the second. And just ask her to give us a closing prayer to close us out for the weekend. I wish you all that you stay safe, stay in health. And Josephine, please go ahead.
God has been very good to us all. So we are praying. Our dear Lord, as we've come to the end of our 4-day retirement tour, we thank you for what you have been